people are trying to listen to us.
I know, Paul.
Might be a new experience for them.
Happens to them all the time. If they listen to the Retro Rewind podcast.
Reflux capacitor, fluxing, crew to stations. Scanning for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the Chalice of Christ holder, master interrupter powers.
If you are the captain, then I am Mickey Mouse.
How dare he? And along with Paul, we have a full crew complement to cover the last of our 3 indie Christmas episodes. Woohoo! For Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, we welcome back aboard in engineering, keeping the ship running, is Engineering Officer Danae Berg.
Hello.
Hello, Danae. And Chief Engineer Travis Berg.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. And from Ship's Records, we have back Historian Officer Celeste Mora.
Hello.
Hello, Celeste. And Chief Information Tech Specialist, LJ Lowry.
Yo.
Yo, yo. And finally, keeping the pod's administration ship shape, we have back Communications Chief Aaron Wallace.
Hey.
And Chief Yeoman Ashley Cronenbitter.
Aloha.
Oh, aloha. This doesn't take place in Hawaii. Now that you
Why
have
not? We have listeners there.
The movie doesn't take place in Hawaii, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
It means hello. That's all
And
that matters.
goodbye.
Now that we have a flyby, not so quick, of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of production specs for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? And before you do that, I do want to say thank you, everyone who came on board the pod for this outing. It's awesome to have you all back.
Yes. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was released May 24th in 1989 and runs 7 minutes over the 2-hour mark. It's rated PG-13 for some reason. You'd think that the Temple of Doom would be PG-13 and this would be PG, but no, they flipped it. Anyway.
And honestly, by today's standards, this just feels PG.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm surprised. This is PG-13. Maybe it's the skeleton dude at the end. I don't know.
Maybe, yes.
It's directed by Steven Spielberg, if you ever heard of that guy.
What?
And it was written, but here's 2 people you've never heard of. Jeff Boehm and Menno Majel. I don't even know how to speak English. I don't know. Menno Majels? I don't know. Sorry.
Mayhes, maybe?
Menno. Anyway, lead stars being Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, and Allison Doody. And the music was composed by, of course, none other than the great John Williams. So, my question for you right now is, are you all ready for the box office trivia?
I'm ready. Everyone else ready? I'm seeing nods.
Let's go.
And everyone watching live, feel free to guess as well. Paul, go for it.
Okay, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was made for about $48 million and earned almost 10 times that at about $475 million at the box office.
Gosh, holy crap.
So given this and the fact that it was released theatrically in 1989, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the other movies released theatrically in 1989? We'll go for the top 50.
Top 50. All right. So, LJ, what's your guess?
I'm going to go. I don't know off the top of my head what other movies have been at the time. So I'll say number 2.
2. Aaron?
I'll go 5.
5. Ashley?
Gosh, those were both my answers. I'm just going to say 4.
4. Okay.
$1.
Price is right, Aaron. All right. Exactly. Danae?
3. I don't know. We're going to round out the top 5 at this rate.
Celeste?
Let's do it, guys.
42.
There you go.
There you
Going
go.
down. Travis?
Was this in 1989 or has this been adjusted
Correct.
for inflation?
Not adjusted.
Okay, 2.
Okay. So you and LJ both guessed 2. And then I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for number 1. Let's just go for number 1.
No.
And
All right.
I know there are lots of awesome movies in 1989, but here we go.
Just remember, this is 1989. Oh, go ahead. You're gonna read the chat?
Read chat. So we have Dale guesses 5 as well, along with Aaron, and Star Fox guesses 8. Stacy 1 with me, and then Dale says he thought Batman. I think Batman Return, the original Batman was number 1, but Paul.
Yeah, this is the same year as Batman, which if you were alive back then, you can remember the Batmania that swept the nation.
Batman did come to mind. That was the only one I knew for sure. That was like, okay, that one had to be there.
Batman made the most domestically, but counting international, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came in at number 1.
Wow.
That was so close.
Well done.
Good job.
Thank you. I work hard at these guesses. I do so.
Go by
Educational.
process of elimination.
Yeah.
No.
But I was rooting for 42.
Like, what would the other 41 be?
Well, thank
Lots
you
of
for those.
movies came out.
Yeah, pretty
Lots
much.
of movies.
Thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert, alert. Approaching target. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
On Wednesday, May 24th, Paramount Pictures invites you to have the adventure of your life. Dad! Dad! Keeping up with the Joneses. Are you crazy? Don't go between them! Go between them! Are you crazy? Harrison Ford. Sean Connery.
You call this archaeology?
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, May 24th at theaters everywhere.
At theaters everywhere, but is our memories scattered everywhere, or are they concise? Yes. Let's find out in our memory mind meld synopsis for Indiana Jones and Last Crusade. Adolescent, not young, Indiana Jones finds himself on a scouting trip gone awry that leads to his iconic fear of snakes and the acquisition of his trademark hat. It belongs in a museum, not a circus train. Mysteries abound in the sewers that culminate into a James Bond-esque boat chase. From Venice to Castle Brugge, Indy looks for and finds a father using James Bond's journal, where he reunites with the dear old dad, and they banter their way through battling Nazis to get to the Holy Grail. Also, they eat chilled monkey brains. What they do? Straight from the monkey's head, and fulfill every Hitler fanboy's dream by getting his autograph. Wow. Plus, add in an epic chase scene with a horse and a hat and a World War I tank. Finally, James Bond gets to die another day thanks to his son, who chose wisely. Then the now ice-powered Elsa.
Non-iced.
The non-ice-powered Elsa. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Could simply not let it go with regards to the Grail, and finds herself falling to her doom. Indian Company make it away and ride off into the sunset empty-handed. I ain't sure some of that made sense, but of course some of it was deceptive. There's no Elsa in this movie. Whatever. I mean, there was. But there wasn't.
Let it go.
Where's
She
Elsa?
couldn't let it go. She couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
You know who
It
else
was
can't let it go?
funny. It was funny.
It was funny. I liked it.
Anyway, based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what rating did they lead you to predict for this film before rewatching it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? I'm going to go in the reverse order from before. Paul, what was your prediction?
I predicted classic.
Classic. Travis?
Classic.
Classic. Celeste?
Classic.
I'm sensing a theme. Danae?
Classic.
Classic. Ashley?
Classic.
Aaron?
Classic.
And LJ?
Same.
Same. And for me, tragic. No, classic. It was a predicted classic for me as well. And it'll be interesting to see if those predictions came true. That's going to be quite the accomplishment if they do. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we like most about Indiana Jones. We're going to spin up pretty much just our classic maker since we have all of you here. But if anyone has mentioned one that someone else liked, feel free to add on. But just for consistency.
Best 3.
Or best 8, because there's 8 of us. All right, so let's start with LJ first. What is your classic maker for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
My classic maker was the set pieces, like especially like the chase scenes. Being so, I mean, I've made this comparison in the other 2 movies. It's just fascinating to see where, like, me being a gamer, to see like how these movies have been adapted and scenes like this have been utilized today, you know, and these movies inspired a lot. So it's like the motorcycle chase scene, the boat scene, like there's just so many of those epic moments in here that it really feels on a grander scale than the previous movies, and I really appreciate that about this movie.
Did the set pieces or a particular set piece make anyone else's classic maker? Well, in that case, let's go on to Aaron. What was your classic maker?
I like it too.
LJ, you are just the only one who liked them. No one else liked them.
They're great.
That was great.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Oh, really, Travis? Yours was...
Well, I'll come up with a different one. I don't want it. Yeah.
Well, okay,
yeah,
right.
Completely agree. Everything was just wonderful.
Aaron, what was your classic maker?
Well, this movie has a lot of sentimental value for me. So,
Oh, really?
Yes. So I remember going to the theater as a kid and watching
Is
it.
Harrison Ford your grandfather?
No, I remember going to the theater as a family to see it as a kid.
Fun.
And then my husband and our relationship technically started during this movie.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So I have a lot of sentimental. So it's a classic for very personal reasons. However,
you knew each other back in 1989?
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Oh.
No, we were watching it in college and he had to pause the movie at the part where Indy's like hanging from the tank. And he's like,
okay.
I just really like you a lot.
Oh,
yeah, it was really sweet. It was really sweet. But anyway, aside from my personal sentimental, things with it, my classic maker was the banter and the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery.
Yes.
So good.
Their chemistry was so good, and I feel like when you get people that can play off of each other like that, and not only were they funny, they got the emotional stuff right too. I feel like they kind of nailed the father-son complicated relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for me, those two made this movie.
Yeah. And definitely the arc that they go on, and going from this very detached to being super connected by the end and really caring about what happened to the other. I think, that definitely was, I could see that being sentimental in that way, regardless of the personal stuff, which is still awesome. But
it's so weird to me how different they are, those characters are, but how well they connect.
Yes,
I want to say it's like oil and water, but it's not.Ey're just so, I don't know.
And vinegar?
I don't know, but it's different and I love it. I don't know what it is.
Well,
it's like the immoral icon they realize.
It's so funny to me how Sean Connery calls him Junior, and you really truly believe from Harrison Ford that he hates it.
Yes. Absolutely. I
was like, I was going to add on because that was one of the things that I loved most about it too, Aaron. And I love the progression of their kind of like redemptive relationship till at the very end. The only time he ever calls him Indiana is when he's helping save him. And it's like that like culmination of like, you have to let it go. And that's like his way to get his attention. He only calls him Junior till he finally calls him Indiana. And that was kind of like the end.
Indiana was the dog's name.
Resolution.
Exactly.
I love that.
The dog. You were named after the dog.
Yes.
That was so good.
So that moment is also connected to my classic maker, but my classic maker is actually a different character, and that's Elsa. And it's mainly The main reason I thought Elsa was so good in this film, and typically in the past I've just thought of her as like one of the bad guys, but there is so much depth I noticed in this viewing that she wasn't. I mean, she wasn't full on a Nazi. She wasn't a full on like a good guy just out for getting things into museums. She had her own self interest, but she definitely played that line of like not wanting anything bad to happen to Indy, but also wanting to get the Grail herself. Just this I really like the dimensions for her of both caringness and also covetousness, and also I thought her death was just so impactful, and it really punctuated Indy's choice to not go after the Grail. And I feel like it almost unlocked his ability to listen to his dad in that moment where he says, Indiana, because otherwise he may just have gotten as caught up with getting the Grail. And I love that. And that's also another completion of his arc, is that in the beginning, he's like 30 years trying to get this Cross of Coronado. He never lets it go. And then this one, he's finally able to let that, the Grail go.
He was going to die.
What?
I said, well, he was going to die.
Okay,
like he wasn't going to die on the boat, though?
Yeah, he could have died
he was just punched around.
There was a chance of that. And I mean, there is a lesson in learning how to let things go that Elsa clearly didn't learn.
Exactly, yes. But so Elsa from Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, not Frozen, was my classic maker for this film. Let's go. Were there anyone else? Let me actually pivot to Travis. Travis, was there a character that made your classic maker, or was something else something that you really enjoyed?
So I think my classic maker is the opening sequence, just like the scenery, the grandness of the scout trip, and then finding the cross, the chase on the circus train, and the music with that scene, especially. We were at a John Williams concert where they showed that clip unscored.
Oh,
and
cool.
then he added the music in too, so it was just like extra special for that reason. But just that whole part of it, and then with it culminating with him getting the cross back on the boat, just felt like just such a strong experience.
Yeah,
I wish the show was that good, but we'll get to that later.
Right? Oh my gosh, I was about to say.
Well, in River Phoenix as young Indy, he absolutely nailed that.
Absolutely.
And I read that to prepare for the role, he didn't watch the Indiana Jones movies. He just based it off of Harrison Ford himself.
Nice.
Cool.
And I mean, it's like, dude, he would have said the line that way.
Yeah, exactly.
He would have.
So good. If only he was around for the show.
I know.
Let's go. Wow.
Startled me.
Let's go to Danae next. Was River Phoenix someone you liked, or something else that really?
Well, it was a tie for me, but since we've kind of already covered the relationship arc of Indiana and his dad, no surprise, I will go with the score. I always pick the score when it's John Williams, but this Indiana Jones score in particular is by far my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Like there's certain like themes and like motifs that I'm just like, it's not even like the main iconic portion, but there's just some really, really beautiful pieces.
Yes.
That are very recognizable beyond just the intro, the intro sequence. I love this score.
Yeah, the Grail theme, the dun 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 dun. That's the one I always hum. And when I hum Indy, I don't usually hum the main thing. I hum the Grail motif or theme. So totally agree with you there.
And there's a really good one too. It's kind of like I feel like I'm gonna butcher it if I try to hum it. But it's kind of like a high pitched, like fluty one when they're doing something like adventure. It's like a perky adventure sounding one, like da 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 da.
Oh yes, that's so good too. Yes.
That's one of my favorite ones. So it's like when they're like escaping from different places, and you kind of like, oh, okay, this is like an adventure, and it's not scary running away from the Nazis. Like it's fine.
It's a very like playful
yes.
musical theme, which I feel is very Indiana Jones. These movies are very playful, and so it's a perfect matching of music to what's going on on the screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, since we're talking about music right now, did any of you catch, and I didn't catch this is just something I read on trivia, it could be wrong, that toward the beginning when India is taken by what's his name? Donovan? The guy that we don't know, he's a Nazi at first.
Donovan,
Donovan. When Donovan's wife, they're in his study looking at the plaque and the
drinking
stone,
the glasses of champagne.
So when the wife opens the door to say you're ignoring your guests, apparently you can hear the piano player playing the Imperial March theme.
What?
Any of you caught that?
I didn't catch that at all.
Star Wars. He was in Star Wars.
Yes, exactly.
I read that just before that scene, and I tried to listen, and I couldn't hear it.
Okay.
It was very muddled by the dialogue and everything, and so I felt very gypped.
Yeah, right? That should have been much more there if they're going to do it. But.
Subtlety. Okay. It's all about the subtlety.
Exactly. Ashley, what wasn't so subtle for you, and in fact, it made your classic maker, or unless it was the subtlety?
Well, no, it wasn't the subtlety. And a lot of things that were up on the top of my list were already mentioned by other people. But I'm going to say that the humor in this film, it was so incredibly well timed. And the writing was just so incredibly well done. I can't tell you how many times I caught myself laughing, whereas seeing the other Indiana Jones movies, they were just so serious, or it was just like a high octane ride like Temple of Doom. This one, it gave you time to actually laugh. And I was thinking about how when they were getting on the Zeppelin, and he's like, tickets. No, and he throws the guy overboard. He's like, he didn't have a ticket. I thought I caught myself just laughing out loud when that happens. When he went to the castle to rescue his father, and he's like speaking in a Scottish accent, and it just felt like such an homage to Connery. The tapestries. And it was just so ridiculous. I'm like, wow. And then there was actually something that I read that Sean Connery actually ad-libbed a line about Elsa. She talks in her sleep.
Oh,
and apparently
really?
it was ad-libbed, and apparently it was so funny to the cast and crew that they actually kept it in. And when he said that, I caught myself laughing just because he just said it so matter-of-factly.
Yes.
And I think of when they're running, it's a new experience for me. And just the way that the writing was, it was just so incredibly well-timed. And then in the end, we named the dog Indiana. And I caught myself laughing.
Those one-liners are great.
Yeah, those one-liners are so good. And I'm like, if for an action film, for it to just fit and not like detract from everything that's going on just felt so wonderful.
I think we can all agree that this Grail movie is probably the most quotable of all Grail movies, blows every other Grail movie out of the water. I think I'm hearing laughter, which means agreement. I appreciate it.
Hey, Francisco?
Yes.
You make me sad.
Good for you, Paul.
It is the most quotable Grail movie that has a tank in it.
And throwing people off of a Zeppelin because they didn't have a ticket. And for dogs named Indiana. Yes.
All right, guys. All right.
Actually,
I was going to say this sounds like a fire.
I read about that scene when they were on the Zeppelin, that it was an incredibly hot day.
Oh, yes.
And that Harrison Ford and Sean Connery weren't wearing pants.
That's great.
Wow.
Thank you, IMDb.
Wow.
Yes.
They weren't wearing pants.
That's amazing.
Where's the behind the scenes footage? That's awesome.
Paul, I hope you're wearing pants. What is your classic maker?
Well, that's for me to know and you to never find out. But I'll share my classic maker with you.
Oh, good. Okay.
I know we've talked a lot about the dad, and I just want to go hone in on that a little bit more. Indiana Jones, the character, is one of my all-time favorite characters in
cinema.
I was about to say fiction.
Oh, okay. Wow. All of fiction.
So, but the introduction of his dad could have been very like throwaway, like not very meaningful, but the way they did it with Sean Connery and the whole it was so good that it's basically the concept of the dad and how they did it is my classic maker. And then to have them, as you were saying, this redemption at at the end, they're riding off into the sunset, and one of the memories said empty-handed, but they had each other, and that scene, I don't know how they wrote it in such a way that it made it seem more powerful, I guess.
Emotionally powerful for sure.
To them to ride off together, with their friends and everything. Like I didn't feel they left empty. Well, they didn't have the Grail, but they still had each other, and somehow that was more. And just how they were able to do that is amazing to me.
Yeah, totally.
I love how they built up his appearance too. Like, it was a while before we got to see him, and you just kind of got these little tidbits, and then it's like, oh, here he is now. Like, it was an awesome reveal.
And Sean Connery did an amazing job.
Yes, he did. Junior.
Well, so now we've pretty much taken everything. So Celeste, do you have a class maker left? That's
I do.
Unique? Oh, wow. Okay, go for it.
It's not exactly unique.
Well, that's okay.
My
Harrison Ford?
No.
I was dreaming
Harrison Ford was Sean Connery.
Hey!
Oh, really?
Like,
cool.
I love Sean Connery's acting, and I thought he did this role perfectly. Like, when he looks at the birds and grabs his umbrella, and
I finally remembered my Charlemagne.
I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne.
Exactly.
I thought it
the
was
rocks and the trees, and the birds in the sky.
Go for it.
I just thought it was perfect. It was better than his Egyptian in Highlander.
Oh, yeah.
He was a Spaniard in Highlander, but yes.
Close enough. Was he, though?
That's a good point.
Alien, apparently.
Yeah.
My favorite scene of his is that scene that Francisco's got up there on his camera when he's sitting there trying to blow out the fire and not say anything to Indy right away, and then he has no choice. He's like, I gotta say something.
When he shoots the tail of the plane, he's like, "They got us."
Yeah.
Oh my God, got it.
That was so good too. Yes. Oh my.
He was fantastic. He executed everything perfectly, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And he just was perfect for this role.
Mm-hmm. So
definitely agree. Good.
Go ahead, Travis. No, go for it.
Sorry. Oh yeah, and I think just like comparing that performance to like 007, you could tell it was so like academic and interested in the cross section of the vase and it being a fake. There's so many different things that really made the character.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
You definitely there were moments you could see Bond coming out.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't really watched any of his Bond movies, so now I'll just wait. If I ever go back to them, I'm like, oh, your Dr. Jones is coming out. But I'm really surprised no one mentioned the pacing in this film, because it is paced so extremely well. I imagine that would have been some of ours if we had more to go through, but
I loved all the location changes. There's such a wide variety and just so much going on that was interesting as like each step kind of the scavenger hunt.
Yes, exactly.
Really, really well paced.
Exactly.
The scene with the stamp in the library. As a kid, I remember cracking up, and it is still hilarious to me. This guy is just like scared of this tiny little stamp and just sets it down and looks at it.
I'm sorry, guys. There's, darn it. There's one more thing I liked. The Untold Podcast. The Untold Podcast is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story presented in a unique and dynamic way. Check out the Untold Podcast at www.untoldpodcast.com and listen to them and leave them a review on Apple Podcasts.
That's great, Francisco. But what does the Untold Podcast have to do with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Well, the story of what Indy's origin was, how he got the scar on his lip, how he got his hat, all that was untold until this movie. I take it you're not buying that, Paul. Fine. Will you buy some trivia for me?
Yes. Excellent.
Okay. Fantastic. Did you all realize that 2,000 rats were bred for the production of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
2,000 rats on bread.
Ew.
Breeding them especially was necessary, as ordinary rats would have been riddled with disease.
Ew.
That makes sense.
These were healthy rats
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're
Yes,
like lab rats, I assume.
that we've
Yeah.
been set on fire.
No, those were mechanical. They
Yes,
had like a lot of like all the ones that were set on fire looked real, but they were mechanical.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know
Okay.
that. They're like Bruce rats, essentially, is what you're saying.
They're
Yes.
ROUSs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they exist.
Okay. My question to you all is not a Princess Bride question. What is your favorite animal? And if you could breed 2,000 of them for a movie, would you?
Yes.
So let
I
me
mean-
start.
Wait, personally, no.
Yes, personally. You would breed that. No, not
I need a
You know what I mean.
clarification for the
Okay.
question.
Celeste.
no.
Celeste, go for it.
Yes. Are we talking real animals?
Yes, real
Or
animals.
mythical animals?
Real animals.
Because I have a favorite real animal and I have a favorite
a
mythical
liger?
animal.
Then give us your real animal, Celeste.
Okay.
So Pikachu doesn't count.
No, Pikachu doesn't count.
Okay.
Penguins.
Oh,
Oh,
penguins.
nice.
Okay.
I would be Mr. Popper if Dallas wouldn't kill me. I'd be like, look at all these penguins in our house. He'd be like, what? Why are they pooping? Why?
Oh my.
As long
Travis,
as you
what-
try not to defeat Batman, you're okay.
Oh my gosh. Travis, how about you?
Would breed 2,000 chameleons and then make like a suit that would
Nice.
camouflage me.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Nice.
A chameleon.
Nice.
Breed
Yeah.
them to then
Like the
skin them,
Invisible
or are we
Man
talking
concept.
they would just
No,
like
no, they'd
sit
be
on you?
alive and attached.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That'd
They'd
be
like,
like-
wear them.
But
And
way
they're
more
like,
version of
okay,
Predator.
Also,
Chameleon
this
Man.
is going like
Dang.
101 chameleon stuff. It's like gross. Gross.
Oh my. All right. So Danae, you now have 2,000 chameleons in your house. What are you going to
No.
add to the cacophony?
It's a coat, apparently.
Of many colors.
I would do something really boring like dogs. But
Dogs.
that's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's nice, Cruella.
Not for a coat,
Oh.
like Weird Travis.
Okay. I'm glad you clarified that because I was thinking.
My. Ashley, how about you?
Well, my favorite animal is the giraffe, but there is no way that I'm breeding giraffes.
come
They're way
on.
too big. It's impractical. And when they're babies, they're already bigger than I am. So that's
That's
not
a
going to
good point.
happen.
Well,
so
they
I'll
also-
just stick to my.
They also fight
just
with their
gonna-
necks.
Yeah, they do fight with their necks.
Ew.
So I'm just going to stick with my stuffed giraffe collection that I have. My like tied beanie babies. I'm just going to be a relic of my past and just stick with those.
So you're going to somehow
Imagine
breed
having
your
2,000 giraffes.
beanie baby giraffes?
I'm not going to breed anything. No,
She
I'm just gonna
refuses to
keep-
play along.
I refuse. Yes, because it's impractical to breed 2,000
Oh,
giraffes.
Even for a
fine.
movie. Come on.
Even for a movie, because if you think about even in this movie, the giraffes that they had, they were just animatronic heads. They weren't real
Oh,
giraffes.
were they? Oh, I didn't know that. LJ, what non-animatronic real animals would you breed that are your favorite?
It would be awesome to breed a small army of like domestic wolves.
Ooh.
That'd be to guard a compound in the wilderness and just like I don't know, just like yeah, it'd be great to have like a domestic like wolf.
Would you add laser beams to their heads?
No, but you could mount all
sharks.
kinds of
Sharks.
stuff on them with a harness. You could do whatever you want with them.
I suppose that's true.
Dallas would
Don't
be
trust
Just
so
the
LJ
happy.
and his
domestic
wolves.
wolf part.
Dallas wants a
Wow.
wolf, so he would come
Tame.
in
I
and
would
take one
mount
of them
it,
off your hands.
I would mount a machine gun on one of their backs.
Wow. Aaron, how about you?
Pandas.
Oh, panda.
There you go.
They're
wow.
so cute. And recently I saw it was like a video of a panda that was like rolling down a hill. And somebody commented and all they said was, I don't know how these animals survive in the wild. Actually,
then-
it's true.
That's
didn't
fair.
Roly
Then you
poly.
have 2,000 and you've like replenished the panda population.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
exactly.
Win-win.
Yeah.
Literally would double it. Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Aaron. You've helped.
Yep.
You've helped the pandas.
I've helped myself and the world.
Nice.
Be selfless, everyone. It's
Quite-
Christmas.
One panda at a time.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Or
I was
giraffe.
just just Googling how much bamboo would it take to feed 2,000 pandas. And one panda eats about 50 pounds a day. So that's, is that 10,000?
I think that's 10,000.
No, it's 100,000 pounds.
100,000? Oh my gosh, yes.
Of bamboo a day.
Would we deplete the world's
everyone,
bamboo
join the
forest?
cause. Join the cause.
That's a lot of
Start
food.
growing your own bamboo.
Mule bamboo,
Wow.
mule bamboo.
Paul, how about for you? Let's end with you, Paul.
Well, besides 2,000 cows and
before you do,
slaughtering them and
before
with
you
delicious
go to
barbecue
cows,
sauce.
Stacy says horses,
Yes.
and then Dale says deer. Nice. And then Bob says, yeah, that's a lot of panda crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, go for it.
50 pounds a day.
Go for it.
I would like to see what 2,000 pterodactyls reintroduced into the wild would do to our ecology.
Wow.
You'll learn that with the new Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, watch the new Jurassic Park movie and see what happens.
Yeah, this is only one of the dinosaurs, so I'm just curious.
I'm
But
making.
but 2,000 of them.
Yeah.
Yee.
You're making what, Celeste?
I am making a crocheted pterodactyl right now, and it's taking over my
Rodan.
house.
Rodan.
Yeah.
How's
How's Dallas doing with his what's he doing? A Charizard or a Charmeleon or something?
He's still learning the basics.
Okay.
So he's
Gotcha.
got nothing.
But no, Rodan is the length of my leg.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a
my
long
gosh.
Charizard.
Mhm.
And great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we have all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Applesauce Photography 2018 says the best of all the Indiana Jones movies.
Jackie Sculpted from Clay says, when he had to save his dad.
Drew Dodgen says we named the dog Indiana.
Wardell White says, when I was 16, he says, I was 16 when this movie came out. 1989 was a big year for movie. Batman, Lethal Weapon 2, Ghostbusters 2, Karate Kid Part 3 were released that summer. I believe this was a May release.
Correct.
In 1989, this 16-year-old would have told you Batman rocked. Today, I believe The Last Crusade was superior to the other releases. Seeing Indy ride out in the sunset along with his father and friends was awesome.
Awesome. The Dapper Man says, of all the stories Steven Spielberg and George Lucas could have stolen, they decided to steal the one from the Monty Python. Why am I reading this one? The Monty Python crew. Everyone knows that Camelot may be a silly place, and it looks like a model from afar to find a holy grail, but it is still more believable than a bunch of Nazis going after it. Monty Python is far superior. Monty Python asks 3 questions. Indiana Jones faced 3 trials. Monty Python challenged by the castle of Anthrax. Indiana Jones challenged by the castle of Swastika. Monty Python used coconuts and welcome friends. Indiana Jones uses a whip, sometimes on his friends. Monty Python. He also has great songs to sing along to, lovely animation, brilliant use of modest budget with a fantastic crew that can play multiple roles. Indiana Jones, yeah, I didn't think so. Nice.
Nicht so good. It's gut. That's German.
Oh, nicht so gut. Oh wait, I forgot Germans speak and write in perfect English. Yeah, they all do.
Yeah.
So what
Yes,
of
they
it?
do.
Dapper Man.
Alex Ortiz says, after seeing this movie, I always wanted my own Lucky Charm, and I finally got it. I can't say it's actually brought me any luck. It's mainly got me a lot of, why do you have a lighter if you don't smoke?
Yeah, Lucky Charm lighter. And he had a picture on the Facebook post. And David Bobke ends us by saying, I remember that it was the last Indiana Jones movie. The last Indiana Jones movie. Some people seem to believe there was a fourth. These are people that I like to refer to as wrong. And I'm sure there were some things that in this here movie that were wrong too. Thank you, Bobo. And that brings us right into the things we didn't like, our tragic makers for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Worst 3.
Or worst 8, as it were now. And we're going to begin with Celeste this time. What was the thing you hated most about this film?
Okay, so it takes a little bit of setup.
Okay.
On the scene where they're on the tank and he is stuck on the sticky thing.
Yeah,
the gun that guy exploded or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's stuck with his bag, and it's so tragic. And he's literally like sitting on this like it's a swing. Okay, that's cool. When he gets up,
I know where this is going.
the bag is still on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bag never came off the gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed that
watching
too.
that Biff from Back to the Future, actually it was Mad Dog Tannen came to mind when he says, hey, you can't do that.
Yep.
I literally like, because I've seen this movie once before. This was like my second time watching it. And so I was watching it and I'm like, how did he get the bag off? And Dallas goes, well, maybe it's not on him. And then he turns and the bag's there and it's in a different spot.
Yeah, well, he had to maneuver it to get it around the
he had to
exploded
maneuver it under his
gun
jacket
barrel. Yeah.
instead of over his jacket.
Yeah.
It's called fancy editing.
So he took his jacket off, put the bag under it, and then took it off the gun.
I'm out, bad guys. I need to fix my bag.
Hang on, I'm having a little malfunction.
Yeah, they left that. That's in the director's cut fan edit or something. But there's like, oh, this takes too long, so we just cut that part out. Yeah. That's what happened.
It was like I had to back it up because I wanted to see if it had happened. I was like, well, maybe I missed him slip the bag off or slip it off the gun. So that's.
I noticed that just as much, Celeste. That was like, oh my gosh, really? But mine was similar to that. Was something that didn't make sense to me. My tragic maker was, I found it so hard to believe it took him out of the movie that Indy, sort of in the catacombs, the lake thing is on fire.
Thank you for mentioning.
He goes under the water. That's apparently filled with petroleum and is all dark because it's underneath the city. And he can just see, he can find a way out. It's amazing. That was unbelievable. He would not be able to see anything. So I'm sorry.
Be, like, on fire.
He drowns. Him and Elsa drown under there or get
I actually
lit on
thought
fire.
you were actually going to go before at the beginning of that scene.
Oh.
Here he is, an archaeologist who's all about preserving history and trying to find, what's going on. And he's like, oh, there's a dead guy here. I'm just going to rip his bones out and make a torch from his clothing. It's like, okay, that's an archaeologist. Not.
Was that your tragic maker, Paul?
That was until I found something even worse.
Oh, no. Well, why don't you go ahead and give it to us, Paul?
Okay, it's really going to bother me from now on every time I watch this movie because I'm weird. But okay,
Is it the stormtrooper who hit his head on the door?
No, that's a funny thing. The last night, the guy with the Grail.
Oh yeah, okay.
Speaks
Knight. Okay,
speaks perfect English. Not English of Beowulf from like 1,000 years ago that we can't understand, but this guy's from like 2000 or however many, and
700 plus years ago.
Yeah, and he's it doesn't make sense. They wouldn't be able to communicate with each other.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that. Yeah. Maybe the Grail gives him speaking in tongues.
Oh, no. Yes.
Maybe he got shore leave. It's shore
leave. But he can't leave the site though. That's he can't leave. So he's not gonna come into contact with people.
Well, no. On his shore leave, it will. I think I'm down with this, Danae. I think he'll get shore leave. Yeah. That makes sense.
Leave the Grail there, so as long as the Grail doesn't pass the marker, then it's safe. But he's supposed to guard it, right? Yeah.
No,
that's hides it behind a rock. It's cool.
That is a valid point, Paul.
And you don't want to see his bathroom in the back. Like, how does he eat? Or maybe
how
he
does
doesn't.
He eat? What does he do?
Yeah.
How does any of that work?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he lives off the word is his bread.
He's like Rapunzel in the tower, and 7 a.m. as usual morning lineup.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is Mana appearing in the cave? Like, is there a water source that we don't know about?
Yes, there's a water source there.
Entangled when she's in the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
And
her
she sings
mom
a
gave
whole
her.
song about what she does all day when she's stuck in the tower. So
Yeah.
when the knight
when will
has
her
a song
life
that he
begin?
sings- Yes, when will
Yeah,
his
maybe.
life begin?
When he learns
reads
to
a book,
speak
or maybe
English.
2 or 3.
Or rather,
Wow.
Or when will it end?
Usual
Oh,
morning
man.
lineup.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're getting off the rails, guys.
You tell the floors how clean.
It's
Let's-
not because it's Disney. It's fine.
Go back.
Yeah, that's
Let's-
right. Francisco hates happiness.
Let's go back
Tangled is so good.
to this movie. LJ, what don't you like about Tangled? I mean, Last Crusade.
There really wasn't a lot that I didn't like. The cringy part for me is always the romantic like parts whenever
Oh,
like,
okay.
and so this part was just awkward when like they finally like meet and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh, we don't need this. But also Indiana Jones in himself is kind of a James Bond-esque.
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah,
a
yeah.
damsel, so it's like it's part of the formula, but it's just like, oh, here we go again. But yeah, it's really nitpicky. I liked this movie a lot, and so, but that scene was just very awkward, and I was like, okay, let's move on.
Have you guys heard the fan theory that when Indiana Jones was in England, like on his way when he was in World War One, he got a girl pregnant and gave birth to the boy who became James Bond later?
No.
Nope.
Because I
Wow.
just came up with it. That's why.
More
That's
than
not
you have
even
to believe
fabulous.
it to be a fan theory.
Yeah, that's not even fabulous fan fiction. That's just frightening. That's frightening fan fiction.
Oh, fine.
Did I
thought-
misunderstand? But did you just say Indiana Jones gave birth to his dad, James Bond?
yes, that is exactly what he said.
All right.
Bad.
All right.
Whatever. Okay, so let's go now to Aaron. What is your tragic maker for Last Crusade?
So the scene where Indy goes into Elsa's room and it's ransacked,
Yes.
and you open the door, and yes, she's in the bathroom, drawing herself a bath, and the music is very loud, but there's just a door separating her from her room, and she comes out and she's like, my room.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a bit
you wouldn't have heard people
right.
throwing
Yeah.
bookshelves over and all that,
Yeah.
and Indy just automatically, is like, oh yeah, I guess she didn't hear him. Like, the music wasn't that loud.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of a misogynist, though. So,
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But she was a Nazi. She did it herself.
She did it
What?
herself, but he fell for it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that, oh yeah, sure, she must not have heard them through this door.
But
Well, young Indiana Jones has taught me a lot about how India is just sort of oblivious to so much.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
so thanks
we
a lot,
all
young
know-
Indiana Jones.
If you remember when we reviewed Temple of Doom, there were several points where the enemy was making noise and he just slept through it. So
that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe he has bad hearing. They never really talk about that, but
all
maybe.
that gun. Yeah.
Hearing aids weren't invented yet.
No.
Good point. Then now let's go to Ashley. What's the thing you hated most about Last Crusade?
okay, where do I begin? No, I'm kidding. But going in line with things that just do not make sense. There was this part later in the film where Indy loses his hat, and then they're walking, and then all of a sudden the wind mysteriously just whisks it back to him like, oh, this is a magical hat. It reminded me of Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
How the wind just blew the hat onto the snowman and brought him back to life. I'm like, is this a magical hat? Is this following Indy? Because it was clearly gone, and it's just miraculously there. And other things that like don't make sense, like when Donovan consumes from the Grail, and yes, he's rapidly aging, but like, why is he like, his hair is like growing and growing and growing? I'm like, would that really happen? Probably, but it just so disturbing.
Okay.
Things just don't make sense.
I
I'm
guess.
like, but he didn't get a beard. He was just
Oh,
Well, yeah.
that's
yeah,
a good
he
point.
was
Why
just
didn't he
growing.
get a beard?
yeah. Why didn't he get a beard? Why only was his hair growing? And
Maybe he's one of those dudes that can't grow a beard.
Yeah.
There are those people, but there's just so many little things that just like did not make sense. And thinking about what Paul is saying, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to unthink that now. Like, how would he be able to communicate?
You're welcome.
And honestly, just all the little things. And now I'm just going to never look the same at it now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Did you know that Harrison Ford used to staple the hat to his head so it would stay on during the action sequences?
No.
Oh yeah,
wow.
there's
He took a staple gun that was empty. That's going to put things in your head. That's
Straight
not
out
going
of
to
Home
work.
Alone.
Wow. It was a
I would
joke.
imagine that they'd probably be using like wig tape or something to like keep it on, but it's like
anything.
Really?
Wow.
Anything to keep it on. But how did it get back to him? Is it
God.
seriously? Is there some magic in that hat?
Maybe it's the hat from Mario Odyssey.
There you go.
Maybe so.
I will oh geez, I was just about to comment on something and now I sort of got
Our
the sense
situation has not improved.
Thank you, Dr. Jones Sr. I always thought of Donovan sort of gets when you have the chosen poorly water from the wrong chalice, that you sort of get stuck in this like time loop, or not time loop, but this time vortex where time just speeds up rapidly for you, and that's how you die. But that doesn't explain the beard thing, unless he just doesn't grow a beard. But that's why I always thought of it.
He got a mullet. It's just like, you would think if he would drink it, he would just like die instantly rather than having to go through the fast forward of time to indicate that time is slipping away from him.
It's not special effects that are cool.
Yeah, we need some cool effects.
So unnecessary. Like he was slowly transforming into the Crypt Keeper, except the Crypt Keeper looked better.
You do have to keep in mind that even after you die, your hair and your nails keeps growing for like a few weeks.
That's true.
That was sped up.
But
time.
to the mullet extreme, I don't
know. I don't go digging up graves and looking at their hair.
That was actually back then. They believed that hair and nails still grew because they uncovered mummies where their hair was much longer and their nails were much longer. But it's only since then recently they found out it's actually they're not growing. It's actually the skin shrinking back, making it look like it's growing.
Well, maybe that's why there wasn't a beard then, because he didn't have a beard to begin with. So if it was just the skin shrinking back.
Yeah. But so that much hair in his body.
Shrank away from the hair he had.
At the end of the day, it was for the cool special effects.
We gotta get to engineering now. Travis, what did you hate most about this film?
There wasn't a whole lot. I mean, there's some like small discrepancies that I don't think are the true tragic maker. For me, it was, and I will give credit to Danae for pointing it out, but after the amazing boat chase scene, there's, they're fighting to the death on this propeller, and he says, I'm willing to die, or you? Then he throws him on the boat, and then all of a sudden there's just a snap change. He's like, hey, let me tell you where your dad is, and I know. And it doesn't create these plot discrepancies at all. Like that just like 5-minute movement from Venice to Austria. I don't know. So it felt like very author driven, or
it was all a misunderstanding. It was like, oh, I thought you were after the Grail. Oh, you're just after your dad. Well, he's in Austria.
They're trying to murder each other.
And why was his dad in Austria if Donovan was working for the Nazis anyways? Like that also kind of didn't make sense to me. But
wait,
I thought he was in the U.S. having dinner parties.
Make it make sense.
So what you mean? Why wasn't what should he have been in the U.S.? Dr. Jones should have, or the dad should have been in the U.S. instead of Germany. Or
so why did Donovan need both of the Joneses in Germany? If he was the one, if Donovan was in with the Nazis, and his dad was taken by either party, why did they need to take him to Austria to have?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Because they're working together.
He hires Indiana to look for his father because they want the Grail. But he's part of the party that kidnapped his father.
Yeah. So I'm not tracking what the issue is.
They needed the Grail journal, though.
That's
And
right.
the only way
They needed the journal.
the only way he was going to get the journal is if he got Indy, because they was like, well, it's not on his person, so maybe he sent it. I don't know that they knew that he sent it to his son.
That's a big risk.
Yeah, right.
That is a big
paid off.
because then they grabbed it back, and maybe they were like, well, we have to keep Dr. Jones alive because there's little intricacies in here that we don't understand.
Yes.
And he's going to be able to tell us about this journal. I don't know.
But
all right, I'll buy that part actually, but not the sudden change of heart from the.
That is fair. That is fair.
That is. Yeah.
Danae, what maybe was a sudden change of heart for you? Like you thought this was going to be great, but then it wasn't.
Oh my gosh, that's such a specific question.
Well, then just give me your tragedy maker.
There you go.
I'm like, put me on the spot. I think similar to others is there's nothing that's really like that bad. Just kind of
the
like
music that
this
bad.
continuity. Yeah, no, the music is fantastic.
Actually, the music did pull me out. You guys thought it was
what
very whimsical during these chases, and I'm like, stop playing happy music. This is a chase. Like your lives are in danger. What's going on, John Williams? Anyway, go ahead.
I think.
Oh my gosh.
I think I had a couple. The one that I probably liked the least is kind of like the suspended disbelief when Marcus gets kidnapped. So it just so happened that they're like running through the market and he like goes in to hide and then it's the truck. I'm like, that's I mean, it's a plot element.
Sketch.
It's funny. It makes a scene, but like realistic, definitely not. That was they were putting all of their effort. Like, was every storefront secretly a Nazi truck, and they were just hoping he ran into one of them?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
No, they just have bad luck.
Am I misremembering that they had a similar thing in Raiders of the Lost Ark where they got them away in a truck or something? That
Similar.
Was storefront.
Similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plot element.
Well, so they're just trying to have a bookend.
Wait,
That's
so was that your tragic maker, the truck runaway?
Yeah.
All right.
I can't think of anything that much more terrible.
If you're an airplane pilot, why would you purposely dive into a mountainside and there's a tunnel there? It doesn't make sense.
That's funny.
I mean, he was
wanted to
surprised
see
about
the
it.
race.
He was very surprised there was a tunnel there.
Yeah, he was like, "What?
Yeah.
How am I in here all this time?"
Yeah, I was trying to die. What is...
It was a calculated risk. It paid off. He's like, well, I'm ready to die, but I guess I'm not in this moment.
Yeah.
Give me like a few minutes more and then I'll be dead.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he was just a C student in Nazi flight school, Paul. He didn't realize what wingspans were. I don't know. But that's fair. Any other last little bonuses before we get to our final ratings, guys? Of things that didn't make sense.
My question is, can anybody kind of explain how Donovan's kind of plot development of, so he wants the Grail, but at some point he's like, Hitler can have it. I just want, like, I can't remember what the line is, but essentially it's like, how is he going to have it, but then also let Hitler have it?
Yeah, I don't know.
How did he not know enough about the Grail?
Yeah.
To be able to pick the correct one, yet invest all this money in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something missing in like the plot development and motivation of this guy to
I
find
could
the
see
Grail.
that. Yes.
I think what it is that he believes that drinking from it, physically drinking from it, is what gives him eternal life.
And that's
Just
what
like
he
the
wanted.
once.
Yeah, just
so
the once.
he wants to drink from it, and then he'll give it away because he thinks he's going to live forever.
Got
They
it.
didn't know the full rules of how it needed to stay where it needed to stay. They didn't know. They only knew that it was a relic, and it was this thing that was so sought after because it's like, ooh, the cup of Christ, it will give you eternal life. And you could tell that he was there for that. So Aaron, I agree with that.
But doesn't it seem weird that like with all of the like research and historical background he has on it, for him to just so obviously pick the wrong one?
Elsa picked it for him, though.
Oh, that's true.
Elsa picked it for him.
Yeah.
On purpose, though.
Oh, you think she did it on purpose?
Oh yeah,
100%.
It looked like a Grail cup that is on a lot of paintings.
But then why did she seem to be sort of not sure which one to go after he died? So that's why I thought, because I was looking for that. I was wondering
she didn't know which one it was, but she knew what one it wasn't, is what they're saying.
Right. Go with the most ornate. But it's like, really, do you think Christ himself would have had the most ornate thing? No, because the first will be last and the last will be first. And I think Indy does a great job of like saying, well, think of the time, think of like his station in life as he was alive.
Yeah.
What would he have been doing that?
Which
so
doesn't make sense. He's not like on the cross saying, hey, can someone go to my carpentry shop and go get my cup and catch my blood?
Bring me my gold chalice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring me my jewel-encrusted chalice.
Either way, it's not his cup.
I think the idea is that it was the same cup that was used for the Last Supper, so maybe the disciple would have brought it with them, maybe for some reason.
But that was in the upper room of some other person. That's some other person's
maybe someone took a souvenir, Paul.
Exactly. They wanted to commemorate the Last Supper
forever.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's truly an enchanted cup now because Jesus drank from it. So now it's got magical powers. How?
Because that's the only cup he ever used. Mary trained him from bottle to that cup.
That was his sippy cup.
What?
She put a thing on it.
Theories are happening now, my word. Well, yeah, there's a lot of mysticism and magic that surround the perceived Grail, and which we might get into if there could be anything that is special about a Grail, if one existed in our spiritual speculation section. But it's not time for that. It's time for our final reigns of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, because we've entered all our targeting information into the firing computer. Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
Moment has come. The trilogy is over. Do we rate Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade a classic? We'd recommend anyone go and see this movie, whether or not you've seen it before, and probably don't have to see the others because this is episodic as opposed to serialized like we talked about in our Matrix episode. Anyway, classic or nostalgic. It's worth your time to rewatch if you saw as a kid or a teenager, but if you've never seen it before, probably just go ahead and pass on this one. Or is it a tragic? It's not worth anyone's time today, whether or not you've seen it before. If you haven't, stay away. And if you have, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. So we all, across the board, predicted this as classic. Let's see if all those predictions held up. And I'm just going to go the same way as before. LJ, what was your final reign for this film?
I had only seen it a few times in my life, a lot less than the other two, and I realized I need to watch it more. So, classic.
Ooh, okay. Aaron?
Definitely a classic. I think there's too many good things about this movie to not recommend it to people. Absolutely. There are just so many things about it that make it fun and funny and feeling adventurous. There's great actors, great music. Definitely a classic.
Absolutely. Okay. Ashley?
Classic in my book.
Classic
Out
as
of
well.
the original trilogy, this is by far my favorite.
Oh, nice.
I watched them all earlier this year in January within like a 3-week period, and I was so looking forward to this. And it holds up, and it will continue to hold up for all of the reasons that people have mentioned.
Awesome.
You have chosen wisely.
Has Danae chosen wisely? Let's find out. What's your final reign?
I also rated a classic.
What?
It's always been my favorite Indiana Jones of the 3 Indiana Jones films.
Yeah, of the 3. Yeah, there's not 4.
If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it.
Nice. Celeste?
I'm going to stick with classic.
Classic as well. All righty. Travis?
Definitely classic for me too. Just so many iconic scenes, especially the tank chase scene. I think even before I knew what Indiana Jones was or who he was, I remembered that scene from childhood watching that.
Fun. Nice. Paul, are you going to be a holdout?
Yeah, it's nostalgic for people who saw it way back when, but it's definitely classic to me.
Love the bait and switch.
I see what you
Very good, Paul. Very good.
Paul.
Yeah, that is classic Paul. Oh, crap. I just realized.
You weren't
Isn't this
recording
officially
this whole
now
time.
a Disney movie?
Oh, no.
Well, they own...
Now I'm conflicted.
No, well, they own the character, but they don't own distribution rights or something. It gets really technical.
Oh, okay. Then I feel
but
good
they own
saying
the movie, yes.
I feel good saying this is a classic. As long as they can't distribute it, that's good. That's a classic in my book.
Stop them from doing something, please.
Yes. So, according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade a undisputed or unanimous classic film. We definitely recommend you go and see this, whether or not you've seen it before. And that's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Comsat online.
Every time.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1989 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Jared Holzhauer, Deborah Powers, Brian Keene, Patrick Hicks, sorry, Patch, LJ Lowry, oh, you're right here, Chris Cowan, Chris Owens, Geek Devotions, oh, Celeste is here too, The Untold Podcast, James Kennison, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Cronenberg, oh, you're here also,
oh,
Pastor Dewston, Kennethan, Redeemed Otaku, Ryan Lingle, That's Our Baba, Josh Adams, D. Tungsten, Andy Lewis, Jeff, The Dapper Man Reviews, Tony from the Retro Days, and Mr. Loss and Daryl Hafner, in addition to 10 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help us keep flying for as little as $1 a month and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to help us grow via Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal.
This stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
And while we're thanking our supporters, we also want to give a big junior hug to our guests.
Junior!
For supporting us with their thoughts about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I'm going to actually go in order of what's on the screen, left to right, top to bottom. So we'll start with E-Money. How can people find you online? Is there anything cool that you got going on people should know about?
Sure. I am on Instagram as eMoneyDub, and it is the Christmas season, so our church is in full swing with Christmassy things.
Nice.
And you can join us on Christmas Eve at 5 p.m. at live.creekside.org for our Christmas service.
Cool. Awesome. And is that Pacific time?
Pacific time, yes. So 5 p.m. Pacific time.
That is awesome. A specific time, yes.
Specific.
And Ashley, thank you. How can people find you online and what's going on?
Yeah, nothing really going on, but you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at APK1186. Find me there and see all of my posts about Christ and pop culture.
Thank you. Awesome. And War Hero LJ.
Yeah, so you can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at WarHeroLJ. And check out geeksundergrace.com. It's an awesome organization that I have the honor of leading that bridges the gap between Christ and pop culture. Specifically for the Retro Rewind community, I just did a review on the movie 8-Bit Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Which is very topical for this kind of audience. So go check that out if it's a movie you haven't watched yet. And it's
I haven't heard of it. That's cool.
How have you not heard of this? Because it's on HBO Max.
Oh. Yeah. That'd be why.
All right. Thank you. And Celeste.
You can find me on all of the social things under Geek Devotions. Nice. Geek Devotions is my husband and I's thing. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. You can also listen to me play D&D with a bunch of friends over at Playing Games with Strangers. And if you are in need of a voice actress, you can find me at the Voices of Celeste Mora.
Nice.
Very cool.
So thank you. And thank you, Danae, for joining us. How can people find you online? Or is anything cool you got going on besides two little munchkins running around?
They're very time consuming.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is NAPOD. It's NAEPOD.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing super exciting. Just, two kids. We're getting ready to move, but no cool projects to plug. So,
oh. Do you mind me asking where to?
Just a little bit north of us.
Nice. So colder for the winter.
Beaverton. Yeah. It's like the worst time of year to move, right around the holidays.
It is, yeah. So the person next to you, Travis, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it is a lot farther north. So there's dire wolves now, which I'm excited to domesticate.
Oh, so are there 2,000 of them that you can breed?
But domestic, so it's okay.
Yeah, domestic dire wolves, yes.
Yeah. You can find me on MySpace and LinkedIn. You just updated my profile. So all of the cutting edge, really, really youth focused social media platform.
What's your profile song?
It's gonna be something by like
hey,
My Chemical Romance.
It's real angsty. Whatever it is, there's a lot of angst.
Oh,
yeah, don't sweet talk him. I know you're just trying to get in his top 8.
Tom's always number 1.
Wow.
Dang it, Tom.
Oh my word. Well, thank you again, Aaron, Ashley, LJ, Celeste, Danae, Travis, and of course, Paul. It's so awesome to have you all here. And a hearty thanks to you listening, whether it's your first time listening to the show. And of course, all of you who are a regular part of our Rad Rewinder community, thank you as well. You all who watch us live every week, whether we're recording this podcast or playing retro games, you're all an amazing group of people helping sustain the pod. But if you're looking for ways to get involved in growing this Retro Rewind endeavor, you can reach out to us on social media, where we are at Retro Rewind Pod. Pretty much everywhere, but you can buy some of our merch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, become a monthly patron, or simply share your favorite episode of the podcast with a friend so that more people can enjoy the content of the Retro Rewind Pod.
I came here to save you. Oh, yeah? And who's going to come to save you, Junior? I told you. Don't call me Junior.
But you can call us Retro Rewind Podcast. You've been listening to RetroRewindPodcast.com/241, our review of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with me, your XO, PaulJPowers.com. You can find me and all my socials at PaulJPowers.com.
Oh, it's not .net. I can't talk, apparently. .com. Well, thank you for being an amazing friend.
Thank you. I feel pretty amazing myself. I'm glad you recognize that. No, but you're also amazing. How you put all this together and put up with all of us. It's great.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But thank you, Paul. I have been and continue to be the captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz. Find me on Twitter at FXRetro, especially if you need pixel artwork commission, though that may be changing soon. The handle where you can find me again, yes. I always changing things up, keeping things interesting.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
So, thank you, Nathan. And we are now, as he said, we're now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all our shows unpacking truth, not fact, truth. I don't know what that means. We'll talk about it later. Through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media. And with that, Captain, we are on final approach to base, where hopefully they have more whips and fedora hats.
Wow. Maybe in the gift shop. Thank you, XO, and thank you all for listening. You listening right now. Thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful now than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for the next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to nav point Omega and return to base.
I can get it. I can almost reach it, Dad. Indiana. Let it go.
Speaking of letting it go, there's another Indiana Jones property that we are going to let go of.
You must be talking about young Indiana Jones!
Then it is something that man was not.
Unfortunate.
Trust me.
Are you making this up as you go along? Yeah.
You don't believe me. You will, Dr. Jones.
Where should I come this? Ronald?
Those people are trying to kill us. I know, Dad!
It's a new experience for me. Happens to me all the time.
Welcome to the final installment / review of Young Chronicles of Young Indiana Jones Adventures through Hollywood, apparently, where we review movies. We've been reviewing while we've been reviewing the Indiana Jones movies, all three of them, each Christmas for the past 3 years now. In between those, we've, as you've been following most likely, and maybe just skipping altogether, our reviews of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, Adventures, whatever it's called these days.
The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones.
The Adventures of the Young Chronicles of Indiana Jones. Young.
22 chapters later, and you still can't get it.
Yeah, well, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But so we're gonna go and essentially talk about the things we liked about this episode, things we didn't. One thing we liked, one thing we didn't like, and whether or not you should go back and rewatch the whole series based on this episode, or just stick with the movies. I already know how this is going to pan out, but I have an ESPN about this. Let's start with, you know what, we're going to be very laissez-faire about this. You have something to say, go for it. I will kick it over to Paul, though, to start us off.
So this is the 22nd, the last chapter of the Young Indiana Jones, Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. It was first aired. It was one of the first of 4 of these little films that aired on the Family Channel, and it aired on October 15th, 1994. It's called Young Indiana Jones and the Hollywood Follies. So, do you want to give us a 1-sentence synopsis of this?
Yes. Indy is instructed to go from New York to LA to stop a movie from going on too long, and then he gets put as a director's assistant in a cowboy movie and falls in love, and yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm impressed that we remembered that much watching it at 2x speed.
How'd you know I watched it at 2x speed?
Because I'm willing to take that bet. Most of these
He's usually right.
Well, you know what? This time, Paul, you're right again.
Yes.
So let's start, and again, just jump in as you like. But let's, Paul, what's something you liked?
I actually liked the love interest writer. I don't know. I thought it was somebody different for him, and I was intrigued by that.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was definitely what's good for the goose is good for the gander. After the last episode, for those that didn't watch it, Indy was essentially trying to juggle 3 women. And so for him to have it now turned on him, where she's interested in him and someone else, to sort of get a sense of how that feels, I felt like was it's not what's good for the goose is good for the gander, even though that's the idiom I use.
Turnabout is fair play.
Turnabout is fair play. That's what it is. Yes.
You know, I was impressed. Indiana Jones actually did learn something. There were 2 beautiful women this time, and he didn't go for both of them. He only stuck to one of them.
Yep. Who was the other one?
There were 2 one was the actress and one was the writer. Those were 2 different women.
I guess that could have been something.
Yes, those were 2 different women, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Did anyone else like something about this?
I really liked the director.
Yes, for the Western.
Yeah,
I
actually liked his character. I liked his enthusiasm.
Yes,
John Ford.
Is that so? Is Francis Ford Coppola his brother or something? Is that what they're trying to say with that, or something
John
else?
Ford was a famous movie director. I don't know if he's related to.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Mind. He was likable though.
Yeah.
Out of all the directors in that episode, he was definitely likable. What I really liked was, as they were filming, how they would have the on-set orchestra to play music to actually set up
the little squeeze box thing.
So
yes.
yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Out of an episode where there wasn't a whole lot to like, I really enjoyed the music, especially when they were on the set of the Western, because they played a song that I actually recognized that my grandfather used to sing all the time.
Oh, cool.
And it was My Wild Irish Rose. And I was like, wow, I know this song. And it was just fitting because my grandfather grew up around that time. So knowing that song, I'm like, oh, I like this. And I really enjoyed all the music that they used. And even that weird, peculiar scene where the eccentric director was swimming in his pool, how he had the choir singing for
Oh
it.
yeah, that was so strange.
That was so bizarre.
Well, they didn't use it.
Carmina Burana also.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah, it was. Yeah. What?
Yes, like music.
dun.
The music was recognizable and just delightful, even if it was just so out of context and bizarre.
Well, the MP3 was hard to get back then.
So you need a live people. Ba, 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 ba.
Yes, exactly.
No.
Babo says in chat, John Ford was maybe the best director ever. Oh, okay.
Well,
Wow.
he did some like The Grapes of Wrath, and like we watch The Quiet Man almost every year, so he also did that.
I've seen The Grapes of Wrath. That movie is hard.
Yeah.
The book's worse.
Yeah.
I've read the book and seen the movie, and they're both bad.
Oh gosh, you're really making a case for me to watch these or read these.
Don't do it.
It won Academy Award. He won Best Director.
Oh, okay, nice. Anything else anyone liked about this?
Oh yeah, I liked how the episode was kind of like a Schoolhouse Rock for how a movie's made. Like, well, they start with and then they do this. I was like, oh wow, it's 1994. I didn't know how any of this worked.
I did like some of the hijinks in that first half. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to get this movie made? And the marble scene I thought was pretty hilarious.
Okay. Were they trying to get the director to trip? Is that what they're going for?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I just loved the hijinks behind that. Like, and it just didn't, it didn't play out the way they wanted. And
do I have another Young Indiana Jones episode for you? It's called Espionage Escapades, where Indy tries to get a document stamped at all
Lots
these
of
different
hijinks.
offices. It's
Lots of
so fun.
Do not recommend other episodes of Young Indiana Jones. We have to make it through this one first.
I did have to watch a few the previous couple times, but
okay.
I mean, I also liked it because it had been a while since I'd seen an episode, so it was nice to have to see like what the older Indiana Jones was like, versus like the kid, and so it was nice to get that time jump finally, in which I hadn't been regularly watching these things. But it was fun to see him like play that role, even though the whole Hollywood thing was just so random.
Yeah,
but
very random.
It was fun to watch Sean Patrick Flannery play him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not River Phoenix was fine. Let's see.
Well, he was kind of dead by then, I think.
Yeah.
That's why I said not River Phoenix was
Thanks
fine.
for bringing up a sore subject.
Wow. All right. Any last minute ones before we get into things that weren't so good about this? All right, don't everyone talk at once.
We were being generous, Francisco.
I would say the best part about this was that it was better than the last one that I watched. That was my favorite part.
When the credits rolled on this, it was sweet.
Yes, it was. Because you knew you were finally done. You could ride off into the sunset.
And it's the last one. That's the best part.
That is, that is pretty good. That is pretty good.
Yes.
On that note, it was actually sad. I was sad because this show never got any better.
No, it didn't. Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
They had that one that felt the most adventurous. I forget.
Peacock's Eye,
No, what was it? The Peacock's Eye? No, I think there was where they went to the jungle and all that.
It had the worst ending, but
oh yeah, that's right. It did, but. That was the only one, and then the first one, kind of with the first part.
Oh with the mummy not the mummy, the pyramids. Yeah.
Every other one was just so not Indiana Jones.
It wasn't adventure.
It wasn't.
I never got to see any of the good ones, if you can call any of those good.
I think at the end of this, you guys need to do like an actual ranking, like your expert ranking that you've seen all of them of your best
experts.
To worst, just for fun. That would be really cool to
I'd
see.
recommend 3 of them.
Wow.
Of 22.
So maybe draw a line. Be like those 3, a line, and then the rest of them.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Into the dumpster fire.
Exactly.
It's the first one, just in case anyone's ever interested. It's the first one.
The first one was good.
and that's the one with the Egypt and the mummy that we were talking about. The one that I enjoyed was with Ford, and I know Francisco, you didn't enjoy that much, but it was a lot of like detective work, and it was them trying to figure out what was going on. Do you remember that with the Germans?
With the engine, they tried to take the engine.
The engine and the
I watched that one.
Yeah. I just wish it was flipped. It was actually Nazis and not the oil company that was the whodunit, but
yeah.
And I remember one of the ones that we watched was confusing because it was like out of order or something.
They're all out of order.
This whole court's out of order. So Aaron has been strangely...
I was missing some required plot element.
No, you weren't. Aaron has been strangely quiet. I'm curious. Is there something... What didn't you like about this, Aaron? And was this your first one you've ever seen?
It is my first one I've ever seen, and based on my experience, I probably will not see any of the other ones.
Good choice. Good choice.
It just very much did not feel Indiana Jones. I did not particularly like Sean Patrick Flannery's portrayal. I didn't feel, I mean, he's not even in the same like ballpark as River Phoenix was.
Oh yeah, River's still better for sure.
So, and at first
he could have been playing a different character.
Yeah, at first when I saw Indy's love interest, I was excited because I recognized that actress from The West Wing.
Oh, okay, cool.
She was in The West Wing with Rob Lowe. But then it was like, but there's just so many nothing drew me in.
Yeah.
To want to continue. It was like a labor of love for you, Francisco, and you, Paul.
It was.
I feel like it didn't get better till later in that first plot line. It took a while
the second half was a bit more interesting, but
Yeah.
this seemed like an episode that should have been maybe in the middle as the break from the adventure or something.
Yeah.
Not the way to end it.
No, that's not how you conclude a series. Like it just felt so out of place, and that was my biggest gripe. I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel like Indiana Jones. What movie studio is going to hire this rando college student to go shut down production and wrap up a film of this like exuberant, eccentric director who's also the star of his own movie? And it just felt so incredibly random. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's making money because he needs to pay for his next year of college, but why is he doing this? This doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones adventure. This feels like this should be something more akin to the Three Stooges than Indiana Jones. It just felt so bizarre, and it's like good on him for only having one love interest instead of three. But it just felt so off. It didn't feel like Indiana Jones. It felt like, I thought it was cool how like it started off in the movie theater and he was seeing all these movies and how it kind of introduced everything, but it didn't feel like it. And for the series to end this way, it was like
Yeah.
One of the things that bugged me here for someone who has watched all these, he's gone through a lot, like through World War One and a lot of, but he can't tell a guy no. I mean,
right?
It just doesn't make any sense. Like they didn't go through it would have been great to say, look, to sit Indiana Jones down and say, look, you can't tell him no. He's a great director. We want him to finish it because of, we still need him on, but he only has a week. You can't just like get rid of him. We need to complete it. There was no scene. It was just like, at one point he's like, I'm going to try to tell him no. And then he gets scared. That doesn't make sense. And then he's like, then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, we have to have him finish it. I'm like, well, where did you get that notion? Because your boss told you to go in there and tell him to stop, and you didn't even do that. So.
It was just hijinks. It was hijinks ensued, trying to get the production shut down, and then it's like, they pulled the 180 on you. They're down in Mexico, and they're still gonna go over time and spend all the money. This is why you were fired.
Yeah, it's not a good. I would not recommend this episode.
Can I share? If we were doing Tragic Makers, there is one scene that ages so horribly because of like some of the like gun controversy in movies right now. Is when the director goes, the director, he's like, He's like, when he basically like says like, I don't want to use blanks, and I'm like, oh, you're a terrible human being.
All right.
I'm like, you're ready to kill somebody for the fun of it. Like,
well, based on current events too. Like we were
so
listening
bad.
to it. I was like, this is a little too close to current events.
But I'm still like, wow, this dude is a horrible person.
Yeah.
But
Here,
it's
use
even
a rifle.
worse.
Here, use a rifle instead of a handgun. You hit a better shot. Oh,
It's so terrible.
Oh my word. Well, now what we'll do is we'll just do, instead of a final rating, we'll just say, based on this viewing, and I think Aaron sort of spoke to this already, but we'll go around and say, would you recommend someone see the rest of the series based on this episode? Aaron, would that be a no for you?
Heck to the no.
Heck to the no. All right. Ashley,
waste your time better doing other things.
Avoid. Warning.
Wow. Ashley, how about you?
absolutely not. I've seen several of these, and there hasn't been a single episode that would entice me to see any of them. And if you were to say, "Oh, this is Indiana Jones," people would be like, "In what universe is this Indiana Jones?" So absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
LJ?
Yeah, no. Watching the beginning of The Last Crusade just made me want that even more.
Yeah.
So like if there was an alternate reality where we got something much closer to that, or if somebody even tried to take a better stab at this concept, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But it's also not really a needed concept either. So yeah.
I was about to say, I purposely watched Young Indiana Jones this episode before I watched the Last Crusade because of that.
Oh, I did the opposite.
Oh,
wow,
man. I will say, I recall. Sorry, I'm being distracted by you guys in chat. I do recall the young adult, not even young adults. I don't know. Adolescent. The adolescent books of Young Indiana Jones being a lot more thrilling and a lot more adventurous than any of these episodes. But Celeste, what say you?
Well, I'm actually an oddity because I did enjoy this episode.
Yes.
What?
But at the same time, it's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. I wasn't bored. I didn't fall asleep.
I almost did.
Yeah.
But
I definitely did.
But it didn't feel like Indiana Jones to me.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
and honestly, only one of the episodes I've watched has felt like felt like Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
and
it was the first one for me that felt most like it.
Yeah.
Whichever one was the first one I watched, I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna say no. Because it's not a good representation of the character.
Yeah,
liked it and still
Preach.
said no.
Danae?
Yep. In line with everybody else, I would say maybe waste 10 minutes just to see how bad it is.
There you go.
So that you understand the context. But so like everyone else said, the only reason this is Indiana Jones is because they named the character that. It could have been somebody else's name.
It was the dog's name.
Been equally as unlikable, but the fact that it was supposed to be Indiana Jones is like the only saving grace, I'm sure, for how they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
So.
Name recognition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Travis. Oh, well, actually, Travis, then we have Paul and me, but Travis, go for it.
I'm going to give the classic engineer answer, which states, it depends. So if you're choosing between this and like your 100th rewatch of Tiger King, I might say, give it a shot.
You have a very valid You have a valid point there.
100th rewatch. Valid point.
But
Everything else is broken. You can choose Indiana Jones, Young, or Tiger King. This is a red pill or the blue pill. Which do you want?
The 100th viewing of Tiger King.
Paul needs a finish that meme.
Wow. All right.
Somebody make that meme.
I'll take that. I'll take that as a no. Just a tepid no. Paul, how about you?
No.
He's really on the fence, though, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I was waiting for the second part to that. Okay. Would I recommend this? No. And I'll go ahead and also give my because I watched the whole series. I'll give my classic maker and tragic maker for the whole series. My tragic maker is that there is more character development in the first 10 minutes of Last Crusade than the entire series of Young Indiana Jones.
So true.
Ouch.
Yes.
But the class.
How many minutes is that?
Oh, too many.
90 times 22.
The classic maker is, I think they did a good, not great, good job of the role of the father. Like if you watch Travels with the Father when they go to Athens, and
that's a good one.
Yeah, I like how they did that character. Unfortunately, it's not worth investing in the whole series for it, but that's for me.
Well, speaking of that, I don't understand how they never seem to be in Utah anywhere during his growing up time. They're always either out of country or in Princeton, New Jersey. Jersey? I think New Jersey. So when are they in Utah for the events of Last Crusade to happen?
And they have a house.
Oh, that's in between. That's in between when he was a boy and he was older with Sean Patrick Henry.
Sure. I don't believe it. No.
What do you mean you don't believe it? That's the age range. He was.
They should have shown it. They should have shown that.
River Phoenix was gone.
It's like a huge missed opportunity. They've like set up all of these young Indiana Jones snippets in the movies, and they can't even structure a series around that.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
I blame George.
Opportunities.
Anyway.
Yeah, blame him.
So I feel the same way, though, that it's not worth seeing as a series. It's a sad, sad thing that's called Young Indiana Jones. It should be called Young Bob.
Random guy. Young random guy. Who goes on some
Great minds,
adventures
Ashley.
sometimes.
Great minds.
Exactly.
Who goes on adventures sometimes and hits on a lot of ladies.
Who says he wants to be an archaeologist but never does any archaeology.
Right? Oh my goodness. All right.
You call this archaeology?
Exactly.
I love how we just buried this thing.
Wow. Well, that is the end of the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. Did I get it right, Paul?